Right, mister. Yes, I'm just going to do this. Oh, are we live? Yes, we're live. Right, okay. Today, very slow day. Uh, what a surprise. Um, okay. I've sorted out the salt formula. The documentation needs tweaking, and also the way the tests are done needs to be tweaked. At the moment, it's still the old Vagrant way that was in the original one. And I'm going to change that so that it uses a Docker instance. So yeah, so that's to be done. But the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to actually use the template as it currently sits and use that to generate a template. Then I'm going to write the Gitea template using that. The Gitea formula using that. And then I'll work out all the details that need to be set up for the testing for Gitea, and then work backwards and put back into this template all of the Docker stuff. But I don't think it'll take that much effort, but it means I can sort of kill two birds with one stone. Just show you what I mean. Let me just move this microphone. Let me just show you what I mean. Right. So, a couple of things in the formula. The first thing is that, as I suspected, there is a way. You see here, this copy without render. It avoids a whole load of crap with, in this case, now then, oops. Yeah, I thought you were going to. Disappointing, isn't it? Right, there we go. Is this going to map to maps? That's interesting. And why is that interesting? The macros and scripts are in there. Oh, I've obviously copied it to the wrong place. Anyway, yeah, let's just edit it directly from here. Yeah, so this file, you can see this is full of Jinja and almost nothing else. And so if you're using Jinja inside a template, a cookie cutter template, then what you have to be careful of is and now I'm going to have trouble finding one now. Let me see. Most of this stuff. Oh, install. I think it's got something. So here we go. So here you can see there's actually some Jinja. Now the point is that Jinja mustn't be expanded by when you run Cookie Cutter, but this Jinja I want to be expanded because it contains the formula number setting. Okay, so in this case, because this is a block of Jinja, because this is a block of Jinja, I can surround it with these raw and end raw, which basically tell Cookie Cutter to ignore everything in between and just render that directly. Don't run it, as it were, through the Jinja processor. This line, however, should be expanded, and this line we've got these these blocks here, which basically do the same thing. They will expand to the curly braces around these D packages. which is the thing we really want. Okay, because that's the thing. Because that's the thing we really want. So yes, so having figured that out, that means now that the formula basically works the way it should. And it's all this business with to do with like the minion comp and all that. This all needs to be done, as do the tests. The other thing I need to be careful of is the qualifications. So if I look at this is stuff that was used. Whoops. Okay, so this is the top file that was being used when running it through the tests. So you can see it expands the cookie cutter formula itself, and then it has this conditional, which basically says if it's an MIT formula, then also include the tests, which is the okay, which is the actual tests script state. So the point, actually, that's not the state, that's actually the test itself. The state will be inside the cookie formula. Anyway, that's kind of irrelevant because I'm not going to make a conditional on it being MIT, because obviously this was based off an MIT script. I'm going to actually have Cookie ask you, do you want to include tests in this? And if you say yes, then it'll add this bit in. That'll be slightly different. But like I said, the tests are going to have to be worked out slightly differently anyway. Because if I look at this test file, you can see here, this is a test infra test, okay, which would normally get run inside the VM. Well, obviously it now needs to be run inside of a Docker container, so I need to configure a Docker container with the relevant bits and bobs in it so that this can be run in it. And then in my VM, it would then be fed into the CI pipeline. In actual fact, there would be a command which would run the task interactively for the developer. We'll get to that. Okay, so there's that. Yeah, so that's what's been done so far. And all documentation needs to be updated, and the readmes need to be updated both at this level and at this level. Okay, so at the top level, the readmes need to be updated in here, as do the licenses, I suppose. So yeah, there are a few things to be sorted out, but on the whole, it's done enough that I can now start running tests in it. So if I go up to the top level, have I actually got an example in here? No, I haven't. So if I run the cookie cutter, where are we? There we go. Okay, so yeah, so that'll do the job. So now if I run this, okay, and I run it with test, and I'm not going to bother filling out all these details. I'm just going to use all the standard. And we get a problem. What's the problem now? Blah blah blah. Unknown custom do. Oh, what's this for? Oh yes, it's because I haven't added the macros into the exclusion. Okay. I added these exclusions. Oops. This is going to be a. Oh, hang on a minute. I can just CD minus, can't I? Yeah, idiot. Oh, okay, that wasn't so good, was it? Actually, let's do Z. At what level is it? Okay. Is it this level? Have I got it? Well, I've got it one level out, haven't I? I actually move those, because they should be in the macro itself. Oops. What have I done? So yes, so the macros directory needs to be ignored completely because it's just nothing but yeah, it's nothing but Jinja files. So all I need to do is just add a line here. And I think that will ignore it completely. Did I go? Oops, didn't mean to do this. Let's keep it consistent. I just removed it. Oh, did I just remove test rather than yeah? Okay. Oops. There we go. That's what I was expecting. Okay. No. Now you'll notice I'm working on a branch at the moment, and I'm trying to make the habit that if I'm working on a branch, I don't care about the commit messages other than for my own benefit. Because what I'll do in the end is I'll rebase this rework branch and squash it down to a single commit, and then that will have the official comment of what I'm actually doing on it. So in this case, I'm just going to exclude macros. And what those two libraries are is the libginger is just miscellaneous macros as they occur, and the libtofs is the macro which does the stacking of file sources based on grains, which it's okay. It's another way of controlling the way Salt looks for files like configuration files, for example. So configuration files, typically, you'll want configuration files which are often tied to the operating system family, for example, or they're tied to the Dominion ID, or they're tied to some other grain. Okay, and that's what that libstof allows you to do. It's got a macro in there that allows you to do that. We'll probably see that with the Gitea. I haven't really read the Gitea stuff in detail yet, and whether there's any specific stuff I need to worry about. But it probably, because it's going to be a go. So I'm guessing there are quite a few supported platforms, but you never know. Right. So yes. So that's the salt formula. And you can see that I've basically robbed some bits from the Docker formula and some bits have been robbed from the original MIT formula. So the thing I took from the Docker formula is actually quite strongly based on the TOFS idea. And in actual fact, most of the way it's done is based on TOFS. If I actually look at again going back to SaltStack and going back to oh, fingers, do your thing, come on. So that's the level above the one I want. Which is the level I want. Okay, so in here, the big one, the big thing that does most of the heavy lifting is this maps. Now, in the TOF system, this maps file becomes quite a complex set of ginger, and I prefer the way it's done here. In the TOFs one, you end up with lots of levels of indirection. So you end up with like a parameters area, which then defines a whole load of values, which then, you know, and I'm not, no, can't be bothered with that. What this does is it says, look, the most likely things your configuration is going to change are, you know, based on the OS family, the OS fingerprint, the OS code name, the OS architecture, and so, you know, so each of those gets more and more specific. What this does is it basically says, right, you know, load all of these files and process them. Now, what it avoids is relying heavily on pillar data, okay? Because all of this stuff is actual files inside the state which get loaded. And because they're all transferred across in one go, you don't need to worry that much about the master being hammered all the time. So there's that. Now, in addition to this, I also have a preference for stack pillars anyway, and they tend to do a lot of the heavy lifting in terms of you know, tweaking pillars. So I'm hoping that most of the hard work will be done by this, and then the pillar data is actually relatively straightforward on top of it. And you can see that in yeah. So it, yeah. So most of the heavy lifting should be done by this, but for 99% of situations. Right. So yes. Hopefully we'll see that working with the Gitia, like I say. Okay. So that is pretty much it as far as work today. Anything else you need to say? Really? Yep. So tomorrow it's use this, generate the Gitia, and you can see I've had a go with it already. This was a fairly early run of it. Okay, so it puts together the basics. Some of this will obviously change because of using the Docker approach to testing. Okay, but that's what we're going to be working on. I want to try and improve the readmes as well, because they're, I mean, they're okay, but they leave a bit to be desired. And I'll flesh out the docs. If you look at the the Docker one, the Docker formula, you can see that it's got a proper docs directory. Okay, and it's got the strong smell of Sphinx about it, because you've got the conf.py in there and you've got the static directory. And I'm going to do much the same thing with this. I'll put a full set of documentation in and hopefully be a bit clearer about the way it all fits together once I've taken it all down. Right. I mean, other than that, it's been a day of tinkering on Reddit, and to be perfectly honest, sitting around doing bugger all. We'll see how tomorrow goes. Yes, I know. Did I wake you up? Right.